Hello, YouTube. Sorry, just woke up, look like crap, whatever. I want to bring up, what did I read? Federal workers that lost their job a year ago around this time because it was the whole mandate on the vaccine. And right now in the news, they're saying, now that a year has gone by and COVID has settled down, basically it's not here anymore. Those federal workers now are asking, now that we know this is basically the flu, and that's my opinion. I'm not a medical professional. That's just my opinion. If you want to know the truth, go to the CDC website. That's for YouTube. Okay, so now that basically everything has mellowed down, it wasn't a big deal as they put it out to be, a lot of those federal workers are wanting compensation for that year because now it's really hard for them to get a job. I did 1 year ago. I went through this entire ordeal with the company that I work for. They too, because we're like this with, the CDC, because for those that don't know, I work in the medical industry. I help design and build and create medical products. So there was a mandate at my work, and I knew that they were going to mandate it, and I kept throwing out little seeds, to my boss saying, when, not if, but when the CDC mandates it, I know it's going to affect the employees at Zoll because they have to, abide by the CDC rules. And I kept telling them, when it does become mandated, that I'm going to put in my resignation and I'm going to try and apply the religious exemption. So X amount of months go by, and around November of last year, I was on vacation, and my coworker sends me a text message, and she's like, "Eileen, you have to read your email from work." So I was like, okay. So I signed on to, my laptop, and I knew it was coming. I really did, but my heart was like out of my shirt. And when I opened up the email, to what I already suspected, basically everyone had to be vaccinated with, I think, like 2 boosters or something by December 8th. And, if you're in the process of doing it, then stay home until you're done, with like your booster and whatever the rule was at the time, like 2 weeks, clearance or whatever. But anyways, so I had already prepared an email. Like, trust me, I was prepared. I had already prepared an email, and I just hit, I proofread it, and then I hit send. And the same coworker that had texted me to read the email, like 3 hours later, she's like, "Eileen, everyone is freaking out at work." So I was like, yeah, I don't really care, because that's the last thing on my mind. The first thing is, I have literally a month to not only cut the contract, my lease, my contract here in the apartment. So I'd have to cut that and get the U-Haul, get a U-Haul ready. I have to sell my stuff, and there was a lot I have, a dog and a cat, so, I'd have to drive. Oh my gosh, there was a lot. There was a lot to think about. And I had to prepare for all that, and it really got to me. It was unbelievably stressful, but I thank the Lord for my brother. He is, oh my gosh, I love him so much. He has always been there for me, and he's like, Eileen, we have a room ready for you. Like, it's there. Okay. So, I had, thank the Lord, the financial means to get everything situated so, that, financially struggling, trying to prepare and ship everything, that would have been the biggest, that would have been such a hassle. But, God has blessed me financially where I could afford to do all that. So I had everything lined up. And when I was going through that time at that situation, I had been really praying and saying, Lord, if I stay here on the East Coast, that means I'm going to continue with this wonderful, amazing job that you have provided for me. And I'll just continue to make more money, and we'll see where you want me to invest in, And if it goes the other way where, my exemption, my religious exemption falls through, then, good news again, I get to be with my brother, although I wouldn't have a job, but I would be very financially stable for several years. I kept praying and praying and praying, either way, it was a good situation for me. So another thing that even today, like I get very teary-eyed because I must make some type of an impact at work, because it really showed. And who am I? I'm just a technician, I'm just a technician, a research and development technician, and the impact that I made there showed. And so for the R&D department, there's software, electrical, mechanical, okay, and sustaining. So a lot of that, there's all those directors, and then there's one on top, okay? And then there's the vice president, right? So that one director here that kind of tells these directors which way the project should go. This director, her name is Sue. She and I, like, we talk to each other like, we're buddies or whatever. And I'm a very silly person at work. I make everyone laugh. So, but I'm also a very good and very fast and honest worker. I don't deliver crap to you. Like, I not only make it work, but I want to make it look nice, so that they know that, like, I put time and effort into this product, and they can see it. So they have a lot of respect for me, and I appreciate that. And every day I wear like a pin, a cross pin, but I do that because I don't care what other people think. In my mind, every time that I put this cross pin on, not only is it reminding me that God is with me, like close to me, like I like it. I like that feeling. And it also, people do see it, and I've seen people, look down at it. But there's a Bible verse out there. I'll put it right here. Please don't quote me, but it is in 1 Thessalonians. I'm sorry, I should remember, but the chapter and verse I forgot, but I'll put it right here. And I live by this scripture. Like I said, I should remember it. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. But I live by that scripture when I'm at work, because I keep to myself. I am, I'm good with my hands, and it shows. Anyways, Sue kind of calmed everyone down and was like, I got it, okay? Like, I got it. And I didn't know this at the time. I mean, I know now, but at that time, so she's like this. She's like this with the CEO, not the vice president, not the president, the CEO of the company. And even though in our religious exemptions, our names are redacted, she was trying to tell him, this is how she talks, this is how she writes. She's a very open and honest person. So kind of look for that. And, this is the department that she's in and blah, 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 right? And I didn't know that at the time because I was freaking the heck out, because the time was getting closer and closer to December 8th. And I was, oh my gosh, I was so stressed out. But anyways, so there were people that, so out of the directors, one of them, the electrical, that's the department I work for. The electrical department director, oh my gosh, he and I are like this because he likes the way I'm silly, and, I kind of push back at him, but we're very professional though when we need to be. But anyways, so he was sitting next to me talking to me, and, all of a sudden he gets a text message from Sue because we were talking about what are you going to do? Are you going to, how are you going to get to California? Is everything okay? Is everything are you packed or whatever, and I was like, I'm starting to pack, I got all the boxes, and then he gets a text message from Sue. And he turns over and looks at me, and he has tears in his eyes. And he's like, I got permission from Sue to tell you that your exemption went through. So he got up and hugged me. And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, oh my goodness. I felt like I was going to faint. So, I kind of plopped down on my chair, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. But, the other side that you didn't see is during that time. So I'm going to get into that. During that time, I told you about the directors and how they felt about me. Hey, they're the higher ups. Those are the opinions I care about. But there were some, remember, I'm in a blue state where their views are very liberal and very democratic, and Fauci kind of people. So I'm not no whatever. There were some coworkers that really made it difficult for me. Why did you get the shot already? Don't you believe in science? Oh my gosh, it was annoying. And I kept telling them, I said, look, I never said that I don't believe in science. I believe in science, but I have the right if I want it in my body. And I choose not to have it in my body, and I'm doing everything, all the rules that follow with it. I'm staying 6 feet apart. That's the company rule, is to stay 6 feet apart, to always wear your mask, to have, sanitation around my area before I hand my assignment over, make sure everything is clean. I do all of that. I eat by myself because I go to my apartment and eat with my dog. But anyways, if there's a company event, I separate myself during that time. So all of that was really rough because I'm a very outgoing person when I'm at work. Like I can blend into any of the groups, you know, and they're all accepting. But to have me not be there during those events at that time, a lot of the people, you know, looked at things a little differently, you know, like, wow, there's a lot, because I'm very strong. I'm 5'2", 110 pounds. I'm very small, very petite. But I'm very open about how I feel about things. I'm very straightforward. I don't beat around the bush. And at first it made people very uncomfortable because they were like, well, I mean, she's very straightforward, but over the time they know that I have emotion behind those words. So now a lot of people respect that, right? So now that I'm like out of the equation during these events, a lot of people didn't like that. So, you know, they were like, hey, we missed you during this event. And I said, oh, no worries. You know, I'm back at work, hopefully this thing will blow over. But, you know, obviously there were some of the more liberal co-workers that gave me a hard time. There was a moment where I had to talk to my manager, you know, and I said, look, if you don't do something about this, I will. And I don't want it to get to that point. So that's why I'm telling you to please do something before I do. And it's not going to be pretty. And if I get in trouble, okay, but I'm giving you the warning, okay? So the guy is a really good guy. My manager at the time was a really good guy, dude. He's like awesome. But the one thing he's not really good at is like confrontations like this. So he kind of brushed it off. And the mean coworker kept bullying me to the point where it just made me really uncomfortable, okay? It was just really uncomfortable. Where it's like, dude, do you come over here to harass me? Like, you stay in your place and I'll stay in mine, and if you have an assignment, I'll give it to you and work on it honestly. I'm not going to sabotage it. Just let's not have conversations. Just hand me an assignment. So I'm trying to be as cordial as possible, but this guy he was relentless, dude. And finally, my manager at the time wasn't doing anything. So I confronted him. And, you know, it kind of got ugly a little bit. So then my manager finally stepped in. And he said, he basically said, do it again and we're going to go to HR, or I'll get Tim involved. Tim is the electrical engineering director. So I had to go through all that during that time. So that was a very stressful time for me. Now I'm going to put a link right here to this person that's talking about all those that all those that went through this tribulation, because it was somewhat of a tribulation, what his opinion is, and I 100% agree. Another thing I forgot about other than the coworker, HR was making it even more tough because they couldn't show favoritism. So a lot of their questions were very cold. And it brings tears to my eyes because I was like, oh my gosh, like HR vice president is talking to me and she's asking some really hard, cold questions. And it was mainly about what was in the vaccine or about the vaccine and about science. And I had to put my foot down and say, ma'am, you are looking at half of the reason why I filed this. This is not a science exemption. It is a religious exemption. You're forgetting about the religious part. That's why it's called a religious exemption. And I really went into it. And it definitely, I would say, kind of humbled her. Like, she was like, oh yeah, yeah, like the realization, she was like, oh yeah, 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 you're right, and I said, and another thing is, how do I know that whoever is looking at my paper that approves or not approves of it is an atheist, and they're reading my religious views on it and they're cracking up and they're like, nope, right? There was so much to it. And then I was telling her, you guys just see me as employee number 5,688, but the R&D department, we're like this. They know me. If you want to know if I'm the type of person where, oh, all of a sudden I became, religious just so I don't have to take the vaccine, or have I always been religious and that this is legit? And I said, please talk to the people on the third floor. They can tell you, ever since I got hired, I have been wearing a cross pin for 3 years now. I'm like, those are the people that know me. So there was just a lot that was going on at that time. Anyways, going back to the video that I had given you, I agree with the guy. And the reason I agree with the guy is that mandate. You lose your job, you can't feed your family. What are you going to do? That was a test run. That was a dry run for what's about to come. And for every one of you Christians that caved in and took the vaccine because you were going to lose your job, you have another thing coming. What do you think the mark of the beast is going to be? It's not just losing your job. It's literally losing your life. And if you caved in like that because of the vaccine, because you were being pressured, I gave up. I'm not going to tell you how much I make. A very well-paying job. Very, very well-paying job. I am in the 10% of what a senior electrical engineering technician makes. I'm in the 10%. I was willing to give that up like that. All because of what I believed in. And when I tell you that the Lord has blessed me, my gosh. Obviously, I'm still here on the East Coast, still making money, and I have a feeling God's going to use that for something important, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I live a very minimalistic, is that a word? I'm a minimalist. I live like that. I don't need flashy things, even though I can afford some very nice things. But I don't need it. I just need a TV. I don't need a 90-inch surround sound. I don't need extravagant things. I'd rather invest in something where God wants me to invest in. He clearly has put me in this very amazing job for a reason, and I'm definitely ready for this next chapter, but I'm also very scared because I live alone. My brother is in California. I live alone. I mean, the whole reason why I came to the East Coast was to build a house a tiny house on a family member's property so that when stuff like this happens, that I have somewhere to run to immediately, not go all the way across the United States, but somewhere where I can go immediately and be safe. That was the whole reason why I moved to the East Coast, because I could have a small part where I can grow vegetables or whatever on a family member's property. And I paid for all that. I'm not going to get into that, but that was the whole reason why I needed that place. But thanks be to God that my brother has always pulled through, dude. He has always pulled through. Man, this man, sometimes I think he's like a little guardian angel. Like we both help each other out so much. Anyways, I don't know who needed to hear this, but it's going to get worse. I mean, the Euphrates River is about to dry up. Dude, y'all need to start getting your life straight. Start reading the book of Revelation. You need to have a pastor start talking about the books of Revelation. If you're scared, fear comes from the devil. God said, I write these things not to offend you, but to prepare you for what's about to come, because God is tired of what's happening on this planet, and he is going to put his wrath on earth. And to cover you where you need the blood of the Lamb is to put your faith in God. Stay strong. A lot of you are a lot stronger than you realize. But you've got to surround yourself with, good people. Christian people would be the best. And if you're in a situation like me where, oh my goodness, on the East Coast, it is nearly impossible to make friends here. It really is. But if you're in a situation where you're single, you don't have too many friends, and the churches are more Catholic than, like I'm not Catholic, I'm evangelical Christian. If you're in that type of situation, go to some online ministries. I'll put up a couple of the ones that I listen to. And there's some younger people here on the list that are wonderful, like role models for the younger generation. But for those that like, some fire in their preaching, some heat in their words, where it feels like a revival, I'll put some names up here. Anyways, I hope this helps someone, and like I said, you're a lot stronger than you realize. Get closer to God. Know that things are definitely going to get worse, but there is a silver lining, and that is God's reward. But in order to get that, you have got to start living your life on the narrow path, because many will walk the wide road. All right, that is it, YouTube, and talk to you later.